Hello everybody, and welcome to the third week of the third anniversary celebrations here at JayEmm on Cars. This week is Engine Week. I am bringing to you 3 examples of cars perhaps best known for their fantastic power plants. And even better, all 3 of them are relatively affordable. We're kicking off the week with this, the venerable Honda S2000. Honda's 50th birthday present to itself, and quite possibly the ultimate Honda. Now, I know there'll be many of you that think that surely the NSX is the only car that could ever be worthy of that title, but I think maybe the NSX is the best car that Honda have ever made, but this is perhaps the most Honda car. The ingredients for the S2000 are classic roadster. There is, in theory, nothing at all revolutionary about this car. It is essentially another Japanese iteration of a Lotus Elan. What makes the S2000 so special is the attention to detail that Honda put into this car. Every element of it is essentially as good as they could have made it, and that's the reason that these, way back when, cost the best part of £30,000. Not small money today, and definitely not small money back then when you could have had an MX-5 for essentially half as much. So why is the S2000 so much more? I have reviewed an S2000 on the channel before. There is, however, one key thing about this car. It's mine. Oh yes. Much as this was Honda's 50th birthday present to itself, so is this a birthday present to me. The car existed in some form or another from sort of the mid-90s. Honda introduced it, as they often do, as a concept car, a sort of what-if type thing, and clearly people were interested enough in it that Honda decided to make it a reality. Now, that concept car had an absolutely bonkers 5-cylinder engine in it, which sadly didn't make production. Instead, we got the F20C, an engine that even 20 years after its introduction is still regarded as one of the greatest power plants of all time. Now, if you were to look at it simply in terms of numbers, it doesn't seem all that impressive. 240 horsepower, whilst a lot for a naturally aspirated 2-litre, isn't in of itself a big number. And the 150-ish pound-foot of torque that it produces at stratospheric RPM really isn't very special either. In fact, you will find now modest sort of 1-litre, 1.4-litre hatchbacks that will absolutely drub this car if you sort of even lightly breathe on them in terms of straight line performance. But that's not what this car is about. It's about the experience, it's about the drive, and that to me is what makes it so very Honda. Much like the NSX that I've been fortunate enough to spend some time with, on paper it doesn't seem that remarkable, but it's only when you get in it and you start spending some time with it that you realise what sets it apart from other cars. The basis of this car is what Honda call the high X-bone chassis. It's their solution to making a convertible somewhat more rigid. You see, of course, most convertible cars do suffer from some sort of lack of torsional rigidity. Unfortunately, I haven't yet been able to track down the actual numbers for the rigidity on this car. The only 2 that I've found are so wildly conflicting, I don't really want to quote either of them. So I'm going to pester my contacts at Honda, and when I do another video on this, which of course I will, with it being mine, I am going to let you know. Now, what everybody generally talks about with regards to that engine is the red line. Now, in the USA, and indeed even later in Japan, they revised this engine and replaced it with a 2.2-litre version of the same thing. Power didn't really change, but torque did, the red line dipped. And that's a shame, because you see, this thing goes all the way to 9,000. That's very Honda, and it loves to do it. And what makes life even better is the fact that this is mated to very possibly the best gearbox ever. And perhaps the best signal of intent for what Honda wanted from this car is the things that they didn't bother to put in it. There is no glove box down here. There is no traction control. It's a very minimalist car, and because of that, it's relatively light. It is, in the real world, genuinely close to its claimed 1,250 kilo figure, and that's impressive for a car that doesn't use an awful lot in the way of exotic materials. Now, this particular example is presently fairly standard. The only modification that you guys will want to know about is in the exhaust, and this car's undergone what people call the UK exhaust mod. It looks a little bit similar to the Gundo hack that's popular in certain Porsche circles, and basically it involves adding a little pipe that kind of bypasses the silencer, so when you're on it you just get a little bit more sound, because as stock these are very quiet indeed. But this gearbox down here is just the best. It really is. The distance of throw is perfect. The action, brilliant. The gear lever itself, wonderful to hold. You can heel and toe in this thing absolutely brilliantly. It's so easy, so intuitive. But those laser cars got a drive-by-wire throttle system, whereas this has a more basic cable setup, and it just does precisely what I tell it to. I get in something like this and I am just instantly reminded of all the things that we used to do that little bit better. And the F20C's reputation is such that even after all this time, when you see lists of greatest engines ever made, it's always there. Now, first off, you've got that incredible red line, which is remarkable for any car. That specific output, that power per litre, is something that was only bested by a Ferrari a number of years after this car came out. So this engine is a real work of art. The head is one of the best stock heads for airflow in the business. And when you consider the fact that all an engine really is a pump, that's kind of important. You can even tune them, granted perhaps not as much as some other Honda engines, but then Honda give you so much more to start off with. Alright, enough babbling, let's get to the heart of the matter. What is it that makes an engine special? What is it that 20, 30, 40 years after a car is introduced makes us petrol heads still go gooey at the thought of it? Well, I certainly don't think it can be anything to do with tech specs, numbers, nothing of the sort, because you see, cars age, progress is made, time marches on. The numbers this car makes just aren't that special anymore. That's just a fact. What makes an engine special to me is character, pure and simple. People like me, we believe that cars are living, breathing creatures, and the engine truly is the heart of the animal. And this one is a bit of a hummingbird. It is small, but it is mighty. And it's the result of a team of people that were singularly focused. They had a goal in their minds and they wanted to do whatever it took to achieve it. It would have been so easy, so very easy for Honda's engineers to go, you know what, we're making this K20 thing, or we've got the B18 already, let's just turn it sideways, stick it in, job done. Instead, they went to all of the effort of building a bespoke power plant for a car that was never really producing that great a number, certainly not by Honda standards. And it is just a remarkable thing to use. It's got a soul, it's got a character, it's got a voice, and it is magnificent. And so that's why I'm starting this week with the S2000. And I'd like to hear your thoughts for what might be the greatest engine of all time, because although I don't think this probably is that, it certainly deserves to be up there. Thank you all for watching. Hope you've enjoyed this video. Please like, comment below, hit the subscribe button if you haven't already. See you for the next one. Bye bye.